Our first story brings us to the desolate deserts of New Mexico, where a man named David Parker Ray, known as the Toy Box Killer, committed unspeakable acts. Imagine a mobile home filled with torture devices, and you'll start to get an idea of Ray's twisted world. He meticulously planned his abductions, drugging his victims and subjecting them to unimaginable torment in his so-called toy box. Ray's crimes were a horrifying blend of psychological and physical torture. He would record his voice on tapes, playing them for his victims to instill fear and control. These tapes, filled with sadistic instructions, are haunting remnants of his disturbed mind. Victims were chained, blindfolded, and left at the mercy of his cruel whims, often having no memory of their ordeal due to the drugs he administered. What makes this case even more chilling is the involvement of his accomplices. Ray's girlfriend and daughter were both implicated, helping him carry out his heinous acts. The crimes finally came to light when one brave victim managed to escape, running down the road naked and covered in blood, leading authorities back to the House of Horrors. Ray was eventually captured and convicted, but the true extent of his crimes remains unknown. Some speculate that he may have had dozens of victims, their fates forever lost to the sands of the New Mexico desert. The Toy Box Killer's legacy is a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind seemingly ordinary lives. Even after his conviction, the case left many unanswered questions. How many more victims were there? Could there still be undiscovered crimes tied to Ray? Ray's story is a grim reminder that evil can sometimes wear a familiar face. So, Darklings, as we move on to our next story, let's take a moment to remember the victims who endured such unimaginable torment. Our next chilling tale takes us to the mountains of South America, where Pedro Alonso Lopez, infamously known as the Monster of the Andes, left a trail of death and despair. Lopez's crimes are both staggering in their scale and horrifying in their brutality. Born in Colombia, he claimed to have murdered over 300 young girls across Colombia, Peru, and Ecuador. Lopez's early life was marked by violence and trauma, which perhaps set the stage for his later monstrous acts. Abandoned by his mother, he lived a life of hardship and abuse, eventually turning to a life of crime. But nothing could prepare the world for the horrors he would unleash. Targeting young girls, often from impoverished communities, Lopez used charm and deceit to lure them away, leading them to their tragic fates. He would often approach his victims in marketplaces, offering small gifts or kind words, gaining their trust. Once he had them in his grasp, he would take them to remote locations where he committed his unspeakable acts. The sheer number of his victims is mind-boggling, painting a grim picture of a man completely devoid of empathy and remorse. Lopez was apprehended in Ecuador in 1980, but the discovery of his crimes sent shockwaves through the region. His confessions were chilling, as he recounted his murders with a cold detachment that left investigators horrified. Despite his capture, justice seemed elusive. The most disturbing aspect of this story is that Lopez's current whereabouts remain unknown. The thought that such a monstrous individual could still be out there is a terrifying reality that haunts many to this day. In the 1930s, the city of Cleveland, Ohio was gripped by fear as a mysterious figure known as the Cleveland Torso Murderer, or the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run, stalked the streets. This unidentified serial killer committed some of the most gruesome and bizarre murders in American history. The Torso Murderer's modus operandi was as chilling as it was unique. He targeted marginalized individuals, often those living in shantytowns, and his victims were usually decapitated and dismembered. The dismembered bodies were found scattered around the city, creating a macabre jigsaw puzzle for the authorities to piece together. The killer's precision suggested a certain level of anatomical knowledge, leading some to speculate he might have been a doctor or butcher. The first known victim was found in September 1934, and over the next few years, at least 12 bodies were discovered. The media frenzy surrounding these murders added to the public's terror. The killer's ability to evade capture, despite the best efforts of law enforcement, only added to the mystery and fear. The infamous detective Elliot Ness even got involved, leading a massive manhunt, but the Mad Butcher remained elusive. One of the most disturbing aspects of these murders was the killer's apparent enjoyment of taunting the police. In some instances, he left notes or placed the bodies in locations where they were sure to be found. Despite numerous suspects and extensive investigations, the identity of the Cleveland Torso Murderer remains a mystery. The case eventually went cold, but the fear and intrigue it generated have endured. the Cleveland torso murderer's legacy is one of fear, mystery, and unresolved horror. The Moors murders committed by Ian Brady and Myra Hindley in the 1960s are among the most infamous and heartbreaking crimes in British history. The duo's heinous acts targeted children and young teenagers, luring them into a false sense of security before ending their lives in the desolate moorlands of Greater Manchester. Brady and Hindley's partnership was a toxic blend of manipulation and cruelty. Brady, the mastermind, found a willing accomplice in Hindley, whose infatuation with him led her down a dark path. Together, they abducted, tortured, and murdered 5 young victims, recording their horrific acts on tape. The chilling audio recordings of the victims' final moments were later used as key evidence in their trial, shocking the nation. The couple's methodical approach involved stalking their victims, often photographing them before and during their abductions. The discovery of the bodies buried on Saddleworth Moor revealed the extent of their depravity, with each grave uncovering more tragic stories. The trial of Brady and Hindley was a media sensation, exposing the depths of their evil to the public. Both were convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment, but the pain and trauma they inflicted on the victims' families and the community lingered long after their incarceration. Brady remained unrepentant until his death in 2017, while Hindley, despite claiming to have reformed, was never released, dying in prison in 2002. The Moors murders left an indelible mark on British society, serving as a stark reminder of the potential for human cruelty. Our final story takes us to the remote Bavarian countryside, where one of the most perplexing and eerie unsolved crimes in history occurred: the Hinterkaifeck murders. In 1922, the Gruber family and their maid were brutally murdered on their isolated farmstead, and to this day, the case remains shrouded in mystery. The Hinterkaifeck farm was located near the small town of Groburn, and the events leading up to the murders were as strange as the crime itself. Andreas Gruber, the family patriarch, had reported hearing unusual noises and seeing mysterious footprints in the snow leading to his home, but none leading away. Despite these ominous signs, life on the farm continued until that fateful night. On the evening of March 31, 1922, an unknown assailant lured each family member into the barn, where they were systematically killed with a mattock. The maid, who had only recently started working for the family, was murdered in her quarters. The brutality of the murders stunned the local community, and the perplexing clues left behind only deepened the mystery. One of the most unsettling aspects of the case was the discovery that the killer had stayed on the property for several days after the murders. Neighbors reported seeing smoke from the chimney and signs that someone had been eating meals in the house. The investigation into the Hinterkaifeck murders yielded numerous theories but no definitive answers. The case remains one of Germany's most enduring mysteries, captivating true crime enthusiasts and historians alike. Thanks for watching, Darklings. These stories may be chilling, but they remind us of the importance of awareness and vigilance. If you found this video intriguing, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I have so many more chilling stories to share with you, and your support helps me bring these tales to light. Remember, knowledge is power, and staying informed keeps us one step ahead of the darkness. Until next time, stay curious, but stay safe. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.